This week we've been unpacking Psalm 62 and seeing that we need to place our trust and our hope in God and in God alone. If we do something else, if we head down some misguided path, eventually that collapses on us. Yesterday, I said if we step back from this psalm, there's two big takeaways, and then I talked about the idea that we really, the peace, the shalom that we're after comes out of a relationship with God. The second big idea is that this idea that we need to build into our life the habits and practices that are going to keep us focused on God and on the deeper spiritual truths that lead us to make the right kind of decisions. When I say various habits and practices, I'm thinking of things like prayer, Bible reading and reflection, meditation, service, those kinds of things. So, I think this is especially true. It's always been true, but I think it's especially true today for two reasons. First of all, we have all the noise and anxiety that is being created by the news. So just last night, I didn't tape. Last night I gave the final, I think it's the fifth time I've given this talk for the Lake Light. It was in Naples last night, and it's on the news, right? News rules. What are the news rules? How and why the news is changing, how these changes are changing you, and what to do about it. And I've been doing a deep dive in this for the last few years because I think a lot of people are being discipled by the news, and it's not pretty. It leaves them not full of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, gentleness, goodness, faithfulness, and self-control, but makes them increasingly angry, anxious, and sort of hyper-political and partisan. And so I think you've got to understand what's going on there, but it's a unique moment. The second reason that today and to the last 50 years, we've moved into a consumer culture, which is radically different than living 100 years ago, to some extent, maybe even living 50 years ago. So there's just so much energy being directed to sell us stuff. And wicked smart people wake up every morning trying to figure out how to persuade us that we will not be happy until we buy X. Whether X is a product or it's an experience or it's a food, whatever it is, there's this effort to create a desire that their product is going to fulfill. And it can leave people feeling very frustrated and heartbroken. And then, of course, on top of that, you could add in social media, and that's just going to further pull us down that rat hole. So I need to sit and soak on the truths about God and the truths that we find in God's Word. We need to learn how to calm our heart, how to meditate on these deeper truths. Now, there are other things that we could take away from Psalm 62. I mean, obviously, David is having problems. We need to note that we're going to have problems. This is a broken world. Everybody has problems. Even the king in a lofty place has problems. We could see that there's some downsides to this cancer of comparison that goes on here a little bit. We could see that gratitude and joy are disciplines, habits that we need to embrace and work on. They're more an attitude of the heart than they are ever arriving at the perfect place where everything in our life is working. We need to understand that our enemies are a vapor in comparison to God. And then throughout it all, we need to remember, right, that we're focusing. We bring this Old Testament psalm and prayer into the New Testament. We need to realize that everything is pointing to Jesus, who is the ultimate rock, the cornerstone, the foundation stone upon which all other rocks can be placed. Listen to this. I will end here by reading Jesus on Matthew 7. And this just goes with this idea that 3 times or 4 times we saw, 3 or 4, we saw in Psalm 62, this idea that God is my rock And now we just get a New Testament reference to this with Jesus. So Jesus is speaking. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. The rain came down, the streams rose, the winds blew and beat against the house, yet it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on sand. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against the house, and it fell with a great crash. What is your life built on? It needs to be built on the rock. God is our rock and our refuge. Have a good day.